So I'm Philippa Dawe, and there's a few familiar faces in the room. I'm the head of design at Flux Federation, and it was formerly Powershop. So as of recently, quite a few of you might be familiar with Powershop, but as of the 1st of July, we actually split into two businesses. Powershop, the New Zealand energy retailer, you can still buy your power through them, but Flux Federation is the software platform that designs and builds the platform itself and creates the customer experiences that run Powershop. This is where I work. It's pretty messy, isn't it? But it's filled with really awesome people, and it's lots of fun. So my job there, I'm responsible for the product design team, the customer experience team, the Flux brand, and also the IP of the brand of Powershop itself. But really above and beyond all of that, I'm responsible for making sure that the customer is at the heart of everything that we do. So the theme of today is genius. And of course, it's one of those topics that comes up time and time again in both the creative industries and the software industries. So, you know, check out the rockstar designer or the ninja developer. The loner in the garage with an amazing idea is the stuff of legend. So I'm not going to delve actually too deeply into that. I'm not a psychologist, I am a designer. So I'm not going to go right into what I believe constitutes the makeup of a genius. But it's fair to say I actually do believe in the concept of genius, but I don't believe that the definition is confined to simply talent or intelligence alone. And to illustrate what I mean, I'm going to introduce you to two people that I consider myself really lucky to work with, and both of whom I consider a genius in their own rights. They're actually right here in this picture. One's my boss, Ari Sargent, who's the CEO of the company there, and one is one of my employees, Sam Crook. So, on first glance, they may not actually be that similar. You know, Ari's the CEO of a large company, Sam's now a product designer. Ari's got 30 years experience in the energy industry, and Sam graduated 3 years ago from Massey. Ari would describe himself as an industry dinosaur. My partner saw this, he goes, "Should you really call your boss that?" And I'm like, he calls himself that all the time, it's fine. And Sam really is new to the business. So to show you why I think they're a genius, I'm going to take you through a bit of the background of the company, where it's come from, where it is now, and show you some of their work along the way. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Powershop, Powershop's an electricity retailer, and it was the world's first online electricity retailer. Since it started, it's been through a few iterations, but the essence of the brand has never ever changed. It's always been power to the people. The core of the business is taking power away from energy companies and giving it back to the consumer. You don't need to wait till the end of the month to see how much you have to pay. You can see how much you're using it when you're using it, and how much it's costing you anytime you log in. You can self-manage, move house, change your payment date. You can actually do a huge amount of stuff. It's built off the single platform. So as well as having a beautiful customer interface, there's also behind the scenes is an admin interface, which people who run power companies use. So that's an interface that marketing teams, pricing teams, and the call centre agents will log into. And it's because Powershop is built off the single platform that if you do end up calling the call centre for any reason, you're going to get really amazing service. The agents can just see anything that you've done. And another thing that's different about Powershop is that it breaks up power into chunks, which we call power packs. So this means that you can buy as little or as much power as you need when you need it. And it also happens to be quite fun, which is kind of different for a power company. So Powershop launched here in 2009. It actually started off a few years before that though, in 2006. Started off as an innovation project within Meridian Energy, and Ari was running this. And its working title back then was Free Agent. Ari was crossing the road one day and went past a shop, mulling over what he should call this new power company, and boom, there was that Powershop idea. So Ari brought Powershop to life. He'd been an energy strategist for years. But what's really interesting about Ari is he sees the world in a really different way. So I was talking to him the other day, and he said he'd quite often sit in on big exec meetings and wonder why energy was being made so difficult for customers. You know, if you do anything through a bank, you know what the interest rates are, you can cope with that changing. If you buy petrol for your car, you know that the rate of petrol changes. You know that if you've got to drive over the Rimatakas, you're going to be using more petrol and it's going to cost you more. So why didn't customers make that connection with electricity and what they're paying? So it launched to the public in 2009, and here's the first campaign that launched with it. Really, really visually striking and really revolutionary in tone. So Powershop really broke the mould of energy retailing. But it was this campaign here which really put Powershop on the map. Same power, different attitude. I still look at this in amazement and wonder. I think it's great. So this was a campaign that ran for a number of years, and it started off by featuring a series of dictators. And the campaign turns their evil personas from evil into something good and kind. They're really visually rich, and they were painted by an old school advertising illustrator. And this was in part done out of necessity because the company couldn't afford to buy photos of these people. In fact, the marketing budgets for Powershop were minuscule. So Powershop truly had to punch above its weight. And really, I think this shows that creativity really does come from constraints. So here's a test for you who can tell the Kim Jong-il from the Kim Jong-un. So the campaign really, really does appeal to self-educated people. So it really got those early adopters on board. It engages with humour and relevance and intelligence. And even before you experience Powershop, you know you're going to be experiencing something different. So a lot of these executions created quite a lot of chatter, quite a lot of PR. Every time there was a you've been naughty press story, apparently Ari got really happy. That's the kind of person he is. But where I really think this campaign is really clever is that it punches up. It makes fun of the bad person, not the people that they hurt. For some reason, English people tend to quite like this Maggie under the mistletoe. But this one out of the whole campaign is the one that really resonates for me and is probably truest to telling the story of Powershop. This one in particular, it very fortuitously came out at the same time as the Gay Marriage Act. Fortuitous because of its relevance. However, it's fair to say that it did make the company lawyers a bit nervous because Powershop is owned by Meridian, it's a state-owned enterprise, and we couldn't really be seen to support a side as a new law was being passed through Parliament. But that's the kind of risk that Ari was willing to take on. And this is probably a real reflection of his values, and that's something that I really connect with, and a lot of people that I work with connect with. The other reason I like this one the most out of all of them is that it places love front and centre of the campaign. So this is something that made us really famous. So while all this awesome advertising was going on, behind the scenes, the company was preparing to launch in Australia. And it went into Australia in 2013, and originally starting off in Victoria. A bit like Xero, every time you go into a new market, there's new regulations, and with Australia, different states mean different regulations, changing the platform. So internally at the company, massive period of growth. And it was at this time that the mobile app launched as well. And the mobile app really takes the Powershop proposition up a notch. So not only does it give customers the ability to manage your finances through buying power on here, it also, if anyone's not a customer, it pushes out what we call specials. So you'll get a random notification that there's discounted power ready for you to buy. And we put a creative wrapper around these specials because part of the brand is being relevant and fun. So we always put something really topical around the specials. There's beautiful artwork, there's clever writing. And the brilliant thing about specials is that they really trick you to engage with your power usage. So you can't buy power without going in and seeing what's going on. So back to Sam, who I work with. This is some of his work. These are 2 power specials that went out a while ago. One celebrates International Pie Day, and he did a beautiful job on this. And the other one was a mashup between Friday the 13th and I think Valentine's Day was the following day. So he became quite famous throughout the company because his work is just quite obviously very beautiful. So with the product specials, we work really hard to make them relevant to what's going on at the time. Every so often, the company will pick up a news story and go, oh, this is interesting. The fastest time we've ever had a special deal out to customers is 20 minutes. So that's from idea to artwork and loaded into the system and pushed out. Humour is really important. And we also judge the success of these on social shares as well as the number of specials that have been bought. So they may look like a lot of fun, but they're really a really key part of the Powershop model. So here's some numbers. And we do know that engaging customers in their electricity usage works. And here's a few stats from how often people log in. Web-only customers will log on an average 34 times a year, but that goes up to 108 times a year on average for mobile users. So we've got customers that every 3 days choose to interact with their power company, which is pretty cool. And now with the mobile app, around 55% of all the energy that we sell is actually purchased through mobile. So as well as having these cool big above the line campaigns going, we'll always have smaller things going on. Here's another piece of Sam's work. So this was when we sponsored the food truck trailer park as part of Wellington on the Plate one year. And we also sponsored glow-in-the-dark ice creams from Gillissimo. So Sam did some beautiful work here, both glow-in-the-dark posters and environmental graphics. So there's always these really beautiful little campaigns going on. However, same power, different attitude was really hard to follow up. It really set the bar high in terms of creative. So this was the campaign, one of the campaigns that came soon after it. And it didn't do very well. And it's fair to say, for me, it's quite easy to see why now. It's kind of the opposite of same power, different attitude, where that campaign turned evil on its head, took something bad and made it good. This is taking something good and making it bad. And it's also quite functional and it loses a lot of that emotional resonance. So really beautiful, but just didn't have that emotional clout that some of the earlier stuff did. And this was the next campaign as well. Electricity power. Again, this was comparing Powershop to traditional retailers. Again, the thought was that the company needed to get back to its political roots, and this ad went out on Waitangi Day, which is great. It hit the relevant notes. It's smart, it's clever, but it's dark. It really didn't have those fun and beautiful attributes that previous work did. Some of the relevant stuff with this didn't work either. Jolly Wellington in the wind, there was a series of billboards to go up, timed perfectly for Waitangi Day, but of course the billboards couldn't go up because there was a big storm and they went up 4 days later, and what's the point? Anyhow, so this actually took quite a toll internally. You know, we really react inside the company. If things are going well outside, you feel it on the inside. So we knew that something had to change, and the next campaign was really important in terms of morale. So we wrote a new brief. It was really short, it was 1 page. Part of it was make us famous again, and the rest of the brief could probably be summed up in 2 words. We wanted to get away from the rational, we wanted to get away from the deadly serious, we wanted to get back to the humour. So this is what happened.
Let me tell you, I'm a very smart guy. Please don't feel so stupid. My IQ is one of the highest and you know it. I do not feel one. My hair is 100% certificate is a fraud. It's a fraud. You can never be too greedy. I like China. I have many Chinese friends. They live in my building all over the place. I've never seen a thin person drinking Diet Coke. Be careful lying, Ted, or I'll spill the beans on your life. When Mexico sends people, they're not sending their best. They're sending people that have lots of land. I'll build a great wall. Only Mexico paid for that wall, not my works.
Cute, and they were so cute as well. Yeah, a wee bit of behind the scenes on that. That was a full day of shooting these little 3 and 4 year old kids up in Auckland. And me and someone from the marketing team were sitting on the monitor in another room because we couldn't crowd these little kids and watch them live. And we're looking at the monitor going, something's not quite right. And we Googled Trump and brought up this Google Images screen full of Trump pictures. And the wig had been, the wig that's used in the ad had been styled the completely wrong way. The parting was completely on the other side and it just looked wrong. So the ads flipped. So it was all done back to front. So this was done as an online campaign. And this was really exciting to be part of. A few of us who were working on it, there were quite a few late night texts and messages and phone calls and chats because the views just started going up and up and up and up really quickly. And then we started to get these messages through the Facebook feed from CNN and from Reuters and Sweden going, oh, we love what you've done, can we show it on TV? And it's like, yeah, okay. So it was a really, really fun campaign to be part of, really lifted the mood internally and went really well. So we found it turning up on news sites as far afield as Nigeria and India, so that was cool. And of course, with our software developers, we started to get a bit of credibility once the ad appeared on Mashable and Huffington Post. So morale was up, that was good. In 2016, we struck a deal with npower in the UK. npower is one of the big 6 energy retailers over there. And a bit like here, there are a number of energy retailers. Everyone's fighting for competition. There's so much competition in the market. And these big old companies are really struggling to keep up with the newbies coming through the ranks. And they saw Powershop as a really cool way to extend their reach and reach audiences that they couldn't get before with this new proposition. So the team up in Hanson Street in Newtown scrambled to make the Powershop platform and customer experience work for the UK. And we launched on the 4th of January this year. It's just hit all the aggregator sites over there. A lot of people change power company via price comparison website. So we're starting to see the customer numbers hockey stick right about now, which is pretty cool. So massive growth for the company internally, just really, really huge, hiring software developers at a rate of knots. And this also meant we're no longer a startup, we're a scale up. So this business is really, really changing. Now we're no longer, we've built this software platform, we've created this really cool customer experience in Powershop, which is going well in New Zealand, Australia and the UK. There's other markets interested as well. Gunning for Powershop Tokyo at the moment, but we'll see. But what happened internally is that the focus shifted. You've got one group of people really concentrated on selling power here in New Zealand, another group of people focusing on building the platform and having these big sales conversations all around the world. And it started to get confusing because we're in a position now where we can actually do more than Powershop. We can create other energy products and experiences. So Ari sat down with the exec one day and said, we're going to rebrand in 6 weeks, because that's the speed at which we do things. Once I stopped having a wee bit of a panic attack, worked out how to tackle it. So it involved a lot of the rebrand involved a lot of engaging people that we work with, finding out what they think about that's important about the Powershop brand now and what will be important in the future. And we needed a name. So me and Ari set up a few sessions, and we did an hour in one day and had all our lists of words and names, and nothing was really resonating. And we said, oh look, tired now, let's come back to this tomorrow. So we booked another hour the next day. And we sat down and I said, look, Ari, this has got to be simple. I want a brand name with 4 letters in it. And he said, well, I want a brand name with UX in it. And then he got a whiteboard marker, said, how about this? And wrote that on the wall. And we both said, yep, done. So the software part of the business has recently rebranded to Flux Federation. And Powershop will now be a child of Flux. It will be one of our offerings. But everything is held together by our new brand, and the meaning behind it is we're leading a power movement. There's still a wee bit of the political association there, but it's a more grown-up face of the business that allows us to have conversations with power companies in Germany and Japan and all over the world. So Powershop's now in 3 countries. It's got 150 staff in New Zealand. Over the hill in Masterton there's a call centre with 100 people. And over the road in Tory Street, there's about 50 people running the retail operation. And even a further bit up the road in Newtown, there's 100 plus people building the software platform and customer experiences and are ready to take on the world. So from free agent in 2006, Ari has built something big and cool. So back to my 2 geniuses. So what is it that links these 2 people in the story? The fact that they've both got intelligence and talent in spades is unquestionable, but it goes far beyond this, and I believe it's these 3 things. They've both got this really a really strong sense of purpose. I've talked to Ari about this. I said, so when did you know that you wanted to be in electricity? When were you interested in energy? And he said, I can remember being 8 years old and carrying around this book called How Things Work. And it told you about how radios worked and appliances and things. And he just carried it around with him day in, day out. He was so fascinated by energy that by the age of 10, he was trying to make his homemade spark plug with a bit of 2x4 and some nails and sticking it in a socket. And it worked apparently, and nearly burnt down the shed. So, you can trace back this fascination to a really young age. Sam's the same. Talk to him about when his love of design hit, and he'll talk about being told off in school for, you write your stories and you draw your picture. He'd draw the picture and put a couple of little notes at the bottom. His parents got called into school a few times because of this, apparently. Perseverance. You don't build something great by giving up, and you'll never build something great by not failing. There's been many, many failures along the way. There's probably failures every day. So having strength to overcome them, and again, this is where that purpose comes in and keeps you driving forward. Sam there, he's a master at taking feedback in art direction. He's absolutely incredible. You'll see him listening, take it in, and go off and do something great with it every time. But he'll never give up. I'd actually say he's got a stronger sense of perseverance than I have. I'll have something ready to get out the door and he'll go, nah, can't we make it a wee bit better? And I think the really, really big thing here though, the last piece of the puzzle is people. You can't build your dream without a team around you. And one of the main reasons we hired Sam actually was, yes, he's an incredible designer, but we've changed him from a marketing-based designer to a product designer, which is a pretty big leap, and he probably wouldn't get that chance in a lot of companies, but we've seen what he can do. He's a brilliant designer. He's a designer with a capital D, he thinks things through, he's got a rationale, he's got strategic thinking behind everything he does. But the other really awesome thing, and this really suits the business at the moment and the stage of exponential growth, is he's a people person. So we've got a small team of designers and a massive team of software engineers. And you've got people who think in really, really different ways sometimes. So having people on the team that can engage with others, bring them in and take them along for the journey is just invaluable for creating great work. So 3 things there. These are not unique talents. I think a lot of these things actually signal behaviours, and it's this attitude towards how you behave which is a real indicator of whether you can be a genius or not. So without these behaviours, the brilliant idea that you're working on in your garage will never come to life, and a clever idea on its own doesn't have any value unless you apply these things. So these behaviours are actions. And this reminds me of my favourite business quote. We've all got them, right? This is my one that keeps me going every single day. Steve Wozniak from Apple came to New Zealand last year. Some of you might have seen him. He did a really good talk up in Auckland. And someone asked him why Steve Jobs was so brilliant. He probably gets asked this all the time, right? And his answer has just stuck in my mind and resonated ever since. He said Steve Jobs was amazing because he was a real executive, and executives execute. I do like things simple. I'm really pleased he only used 2 words there. So great people make great things happen. And he had failures along the way, of course, but he didn't give up, and he just kept going to make things great. So my 2 geniuses today. Yeah, Ari's an executive. He has been for a long time, but I've got no doubt that one day Sam will be in a similar position as well. So you do need these, I think you need these 3 things to realise genius. Purpose, to give your work focus. That means you're repeating your actions, you're still working towards your big goal, you care, you love. Perseverance, giving up isn't an option. Everyone gives up sometimes, right? But you do need to pull yourself together and keep going. And really, the really key thing as well is people. Your ideas live or die by the people around you, and that's real genius. The end.